It's been a long while since I last played Final Fantasy Tactics, and it took me long time to pick it up again since the emulator setup was a pain. I have proudly pirated it. It's a shame that game so influential was abandoned by the Square and left to rot in the handheld console hell. Even so, this game became a cult classic, although I never finished it, but I remember this game fondly. I decided to play it again to see if my memory is good as I remember. After I played it through, I can say the game still holds up. There are reasons why the game is beloved by many. It's a beautiful, baroque-esque and esoteric, with unique art style that bypass its hardware limitation. In the era of 3D craze, that designers have restrained themselves to using 3D only for backgrounds, while making the characters from 2D sprites. Hand-drawn art and sprites tend to look stylish even now in the modern age of video game design. The art is simple, yet it's joy to see. Environment gives the world personality, and the maps give plenty of information to player that allows to plan ahead. Unlike most Japanese games, which emphasize actors and stages, there is focus on background in FFT, which allows the world to contribute to the story as much the characters. As expected from Final Fantasy, their art has a third side majestic. Everything has to be humongous, bigger than life, and expressive to possible degree. Best of this lies with character anatomy. People and creatures have here a massive long limbs, small torso, and big head with eyes covering almost half of their faces. This, with extreme poses, make characters' actions feel theatric, as you were watching some theater performance on CRTV with a Dr. Pepper in your hand while your mom was screaming at you to go to sleep. Those aspects of the design have allowed the art to age well. Vibe of this game will fill your heart with glee and mind of the artist with ideas. Even the menus here are decorative and give feel of using some ancient grimoire, solidifying that we are playing a fantasy game. The story, on the other hand, is less fantastical and more down to earth. It focuses on human problems and politics of the world. There is a thematic sense of suffering and class divide in the story. The consequence of this class divide acts as main theme of the FFT. The main theme contributes to the dark descent of the plot. Final Fantasy Tactics doesn't shy away from realities related to its main theme, as such as racism and slavery. Political intrigue and betrayal are strong aspects of the plot as well. Despite the darker plot element, there is an optimistic message. As the events unfold, the games convey a message of equality amongst all people, and the idea that anyone can achieve greatness, regardless of where they come from. The game takes its theme seriously, despite its cartoonish looks. It deserves some respect for this. And good story can't be told without good character. But I will leave this for others to discuss. Yes, my fellow Fire Emblem fans, you will find someone to adore. Combat. Besides the main campaign, FFT also had a stand-alone tutorial, which is helpful. As in many RPGs, there is a map of the overworld with places to buy stuff, recruit soldiers, and select combat scenario. In the menus, you can train, managing equipment, and saving and recall storage access. You begin a fight after sending a scenario of your choice. The first task during a fight is to place your units in the formation of the starting grid. In some battles this has more effect than others. Regardless, I appreciate this feature. The grid of the battlefield has a different levels of elevation. Movement will be influenced by that. Units can only travel on squares. Amount of squares is determined by stat called mobility. Game will ask you if you want to change point of destination. The rest of your turn will be occupied with the offense and defense. Turns are allotted to each unit depending on their stat. Rather than letting the enemy take your turn on letting you move first, you have to insight on the order of turns by examining the speed each unit. You can use this to use strategic advantage and catch your enemy off guard. That's the core of the gameplay, jumping between squares on the grid and catching enemies in your attack rectangles, sometimes with the help of the crystal balls. Eventually, one of the sides is defeated and must accept the sweet embrace of oblivion. The game is flavored with aspects of that enhance the main gameplay and keep things interesting. One of those variations is a chance. FFT uses a percent-based system to figure out if your actions succeed. Tasks might seem pointless and unfair after you miss 6 times in a row, but it does spice up the game by keeping you on your toes. Regardless how strategically you plan ahead, things might go wrong way. That chance of missing or chance of enemy missing forces you to adapt, improve and overcome. So this system works in the game's favor. Another aspect of the game that adds some variation is the job system. And this is where the game really shines. Oh boy! The job system. Final Fantasy inherited the job system from the granddaddy of the Japanese video games, Wizardry. Square improved it by expanding it immensely. You can mix and match all the jobs if you have enough jobs unlocked. The job system gives the game so much depth. Units have a main job skills that determine the class and what are the strongest. Side job skills are the weaker than the main ones. To be most efficient, you have to run 2 jobs. So average Polish experience. There are also stranger than their skills, which get activated after a unit is hurt. Do everything instead waiting skills that are mostly utility, and on the last, movement skills. Things what you do when you move. The fact that you can change and mix jobs at any time allows every unit to become a gigachat. But this has a downside of throwing off the balance of the game. But even the job system put across the main message of the game. Everybody is equal and can achieve greatness regardless of the origin. I believe that was intentional thematically and mechanically. And for this, Yasumi Matsuno and his team have my respect. A game that is committed to its theme and vision is always superior to the games that aren't. It has the widest unit customization I ever seen. This is brilliant. I wanted to check all the different combinations and experiment with all possible variants. Unfortunately, the one drawback of the game is a grind. FFT isn't a game that can be completed quickly pure due to strategization. Grinding is necessary to progress. So this slows game down too much for my liking. While some people out there appreciate grinding, it isn't for me. After playing too much Titan Quest, I find grinding tedious. I like games where resourcefulness and strategy are prioritized over power and level ups. Perhaps one of the FFT successors will solve problem of grind. But this is a story for another time. Although the game is exquisite and gameplay is superb, I don't plan to replay FFT anytime soon, because there is too much grinding. In my memories, FFT might live as the best tactical games out there. In the way it is. The game is a landmark for the genre and one of the most influential tactical games. However, I still only recommend it for the educational reasons and to keep balance of the universe in check. Next time we will set some emblems on fire. Like always, let me know what you think. Leave a comment until Tube turns them off. The comment section is to your disposal. This video was possible through the help of Dude Dudeson. Much thanks for the writing.